Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, and we're digging into the song Question today. That is our song in order of the songs on Sonic Origami, released in 1998. And man, this puts us halfway through the album already. Can you believe it? And these shows are going so fast. You know, I really would have thought doing 4 shows a week, that it would be just like slow going and it would get monotonous or something after a while, but it really hasn't. I've loved doing every single show, whether I've had a guest on the show or just done one by myself. It has just been a joy to go through every one of these songs, point out the nuances, the things that I hear in the moment that stand out to me, and just share the joy of the music of Uriah Heep. It has just been fantastic. And, you know, here we are, well over 200 songs now, and we're catching up to Living the Dream. I don't have a date yet on the release of the new album. I haven't had an update. Now, I'm recording about a month in advance of when these shows actually come out. So perhaps by the time that you're listening to this, I will have had an update of some kind. But, you know, I think that the album is just being mixed, and that's just going to take whatever time it takes to do it right. Because especially coming off of Living the Dream, which sounded so good, I can't imagine there's going to be anything that's going to sound less than that, especially as far as sonic quality. I mean, it's 2021. We've got the great studios. We've got great recording engineers and great equipment. It's all there nowadays. So it's interesting, too, to listen to maybe Sonic Origami and then go back and listen to, say, Salisbury and just listen to the sonic quality difference and where we've come in all those years. It's really amazing. I have my positives and negatives about it, but the one thing I can say for sure is that there's no excuse for not having a good studio sound on an album these days. If you didn't get a good recording, that's really the key to everything. So it's worth more spending the time and money to set up and get a good sound going in, because some things can be fixed in post, but it's better if you just get a good sound going in. And so I'm really looking forward to the new album, hearing the songs, hearing what they've written, what they've performed, and just the overall sound, especially, after Living the Dream, how good that sounded. So before we get into the song today, we actually have a couple of iTunes reviews. I don't know if they came in on Apple Podcasts or iTunes, but either way, there's 2 of them. The first one came in October 23rd of this year, so not too long ago. I still check them periodically, but not very often. It's been a while since we've had one, so I kind of dropped the ball on checking them. But, my gut said just go and check, and boom, here we are, a couple in the last couple of weeks. Actually, one was yesterday. So the first one is called Great to See a Heep Podcast. It is a 3-star rating by Arctic Char 78. Arctic char is a fish, for those of you who don't know, often served at Gordon Ramsay restaurants. I've never had it, but I've heard it's really tasty. The review states, thrilled to see this podcast out there, and thank you, Scott. However, as a 45-year-old Heep freak, I do have my quibbles. It often seems like Scott either doesn't know much about the band or hasn't done his homework. Things like whether it's Mick or Ken playing the guitar, or Ken or David singing lead vocals, or the subject matter of a song. This is Heep 101 for fans, and it's very frustrating how often well-known details are described incorrectly or flat out clueless. But I still listen to every episode and dig it. Well, thank you for your thoughts, Arctic Char. Certainly everybody has a right to their opinion. I just want to point out a couple things I pointed out many times during the course of the show. Now, I was thinking that you're talking about the episodes in the earlier days of Heep with Ken Hensley. Maybe you started at the beginning and you're not that far in. I do believe I said it in the introductory episode. Maybe I didn't, but certainly fairly quickly as the show developed. This is not about the history of Uriah Heep. It's not about who did what as far as solos go. It's not about who was fighting with who got credit for what. None of that stuff. This show is very concentrated to the music itself, the things that bands actually put out for us to enjoy. I don't think that there's too many bands, other than people who have tried to do specific things to stay in the press. I think of somebody like Sid Vicious, or people like maybe even Madonna, I think would be a good example. People who have gone out of their way to be controversial just to get that limelight. Most bands, especially bands in rock and roll, for the most part, what they do is they put out music for us to enjoy. All those other things that people choose to pick up on are really secondary. And what this show focuses on is the music itself. So I don't think, I may have once or twice, but as far as I recall, every time I've said something, I precede it with this maybe, or I, say afterwards, I'm not sure. I don't state anything as fact. This is not an official podcast. This is a fan-based podcast. And Mick and I talked about this before the show started on how we were going to do it. And he wanted it initially to be an official podcast, but I didn't. And the reason is because of stuff like this. Because what this show is about is the music, not all the other stuff, not the arguments, not who owed money to who. I tell you guys too that I almost never look at social media anymore. And I had to go post something, or I was looking for something the other day, and somebody had posted something about, how Mick should be kissing Ken Hensley's ass and all this stuff. Mick was so great about the way he responded to that. But, it's all opinions. Everybody has their opinions. I've also said I'm not a lyric guy. I most of the time do not get into the story. It's not my thing. I'm about the music. I hear the vocals as an instrument. At times the story bleeds through, or I'm curious based on a title what the story might be about. But, mostly I'm about the music, and I'm about the sound of the vocals as an instrument. So as far as the story of the song, I've been very upfront about that. I'm sorry that it's so frustrating for you to listen to the show. I appreciate that you continue to listen to it anyway. But that's what the show is about. And to me, as a fan of music, if you're, and I say this to everyone because I've said this so many times before, if you're caught up in the details of things, other than, hey, I'm curious who did that. If you're caught up in the details of who sang, who was doing backups, who did the high harmony, all those kind of things, you're not paying attention to the music. What bands give us, what I as a musician give people, is the music to enjoy. That should be the first and foremost thing. If that is not your focus, then that actually makes me sad for the songwriting, because that's why bands put out music, for people to enjoy the music. They don't put out music so that people could argue about this album's better than that album, or this is the only true singer in the band, or all those kind of things that I used to see on social media that used to really frustrate me. And I'm so glad that I don't even see those arguments anymore, because other than, like I said, when I go to post something and I happen to see something, it's just mindless. Enjoy the music. That's what the band has given us to enjoy. But thank you, Arctic Char. I hope that as the show goes on and we get past the Ken Hensley era, you start enjoying the show more, because we don't have those little debates, except for a couple of songs that are still up in the air as far as who sang them. We have another review, and this is called Times and Commentary. It is a 5-star review by HDBBBB. I hope I got all those right. The screen is kind of far away from me and I'm getting old. It is a 5-star review that says, "This show is great. The host provides interesting commentary on each individual song. Start at the beginning and make your way through. It is a good listen during long drives or flights, or just while doing things around the house. You will learn to appreciate all things Uriah Heep." Well, thank you. Very much appreciated as well. I appreciate everybody expressing their thoughts. I don't mind people saying negative things about me. I could give a shit. It doesn't matter. That's not what the show's about. But, all I'm saying is decide whether your feedback applies to you personally or applies to people that would be checking out the show. And I find that a lot of times, and most of the people that have left feedback on this show, it's been pretty open to like a general wide audience, but it seems that there are people who are just like, this only applies to me, but I'm going to let everybody know about it anyway. And as I've said with reviews before, it's like, if you leave a review on Amazon about a vacuum cleaner and you're like, this is just stupid, I don't like the color, it isn't the color I ordered, or it's not what they showed in the picture, that really doesn't help anybody. If you leave a review like, this vacuum cleaner will put your baby in danger, that's helpful. So, everybody has the right to express their opinion. It's the unfortunate side of the internet. But at the same point, make sure that your feedback applies to the general audience that might be reading it. But thank you guys both. I really appreciate it. I appreciate you taking the time to do that. Now it's time to get into the song. This song is simply called Question by Uriah Heep. Well, I've said it on a couple other episodes recently, but I think it's really worth saying again. This recording is absolutely beautiful. The sound of the guitar here is just fantastic. Every angle of it seems like it was caught and just beautifully, cleanly recorded. The playing is really nice. It's something really different. I've never heard anything quite like that played before, but I especially love the balance of the bass and the guitar as well. That sounds really nice in there. The bass isn't overpowering it with those low tones. It just sounds like they blend together really nicely. It's a really intriguing opening, so we'll see what happens next.
There's a lie that runs across the human race. There's a truth that draws a fear upon your face. A child is crying and it echoes all over the world.
There's something I've always found intriguing about this style of music, because if you listen to the notes and the strumming, you listen how it's done, it sounds so intricate, doesn't it? It sounds like there's so many processes happening to bring that sound to us, and yet it really isn't. So there's like a simplicity in something that sounds very complicated. And because of the simplicity, it sounds kind of relaxed at the same time. So it's like there's all these things happening, but it sounds kind of relaxed, and I can just lay back and close my eyes and just enjoy the sounds that I'm hearing. It's really interesting.
If we try to find some deep communication, bring an end to war and start a new creation.
I love the bass sound here too. It just sounds so gentle. I'm going to guess that that's probably played without a pick. And it sounds like it's on a fretless bass. Again, it has that kind of quality. And the slides are so smooth. You know, really sounds good, though. I like that he goes up to a little bit higher of a register, too, than kind of playing the low notes, because that might not work as well with the acoustic as this does. It's just a nice little blend. It's like he's kind of having his own show at the same time. But what he's doing really works with what Mick's playing and Bernie's gentle voice on top of that. He doesn't do it often, but I love when Bernie dials back and just sings something with a little more gentleness too. The three of these instruments together are it's just paradise to my ears.
From the truth inside, it's waiting, it's waiting. Suddenly then the clearest voice will call. Feeling the air, you have no choice at all. Can I ask the question to you? Do you know who you are? Do you know what we're doing here? Try to see the way from within, 'cause it isn't outside. Let your honesty see it clear.
So, of course, I'm sitting here thinking, maybe I'll get like an acoustic guitar pack or something for Christmas, and I'll finally start learning how to play. And I know I'm not going to do it, but that's the kind of thing that I get inspired to do when I listen to this kind of playing. And I hear how smoothly Mick plays and how gentle it is and the kind of great songs that you can write with an acoustic guitar. I do get really tempted, I have to say. But it's not going to happen. But I'm definitely inspired in this moment.
Why does anger fill our hearts with misconception? Turn us inside out in every direction. From the truth in inside that's waiting, it's waiting. Follow the voice that lives inside your heart. Never the choice that tears your world apart. Can I ask the question again? Do you know who you are? Do you know what we're doing here?
That's a beautiful build on the keyboards. I love those, just the sound. You know, it sounds like it's a combination of a pad and a synth string, but they sound really, really good. And it just has that nice build as the vocals are building as well. You know, Bernie's getting a little more edgy as we move along the song. But what a great message. And I think that it's something that at least every year or maybe every few months people should do. They should just kind of sit down and evaluate things, you know. Who am I? Why am I here? Who do I want to be? What do I want to put out into this world? What do I want to be remembered for? You know, those kind of things. And this is certainly a great reminder every once in a while to just, you know, put down everything you're doing, put down the phone or your tablet or all these things that distract us. Just sit in some solitude for a little while and really think about these things. They're very important.
Try to see the way from within. 'Cause it isn't outside. Let your honesty see it clear.
Well, I don't think you could have picked too many combinations of sounds that would have been better than that for the keyboards over this section here. Nice build in the second half where it was a little bit more intense with the background, but really nice, just light and airy, something gentle, which is being played over a gentle song. The bass is kind of, you know, it's almost playful the way that it's hitting up into the higher notes on the instrument. And it really just feels like a good, we're just kind of out in the field, just playing together, enjoying the moment, contemplating, thinking, and enjoying that time together. That's what this really makes me feel. A little bit of, you know, personal reflection, but also some musical camaraderie at the same time.
Take a walk and be a wave upon the ocean. Touch the sky and feel our spirit in motion. This is the love inside that's waiting, just waiting. Suddenly everything is there to see. And you can be everything you want to be.
I was actually hoping that there would be some gentle backing vocals like this. I mean, they really kind of just have that same light and airy feel to them that the keyboards did during that last section. But also, you know, they have a presence in the song, like the, you know, the synth string and building up with the vocals. That's really, really nice. I love the blend of that. I love the gentleness coming from everybody in a band that has done some damn hard rocking songs.
Want to be. I gotta ask the question again. Do you know who you are? Do you know what we're doing here? Try to see the way from within, 'cause it isn't outside. Let your honesty see it clear. Are you ready to go, my love?
You know, not too long ago, I did a review of the album Zebra, which was the debut album of the band Zebra. Try to figure that one out. And I remember thinking that they had kind of a Uriah Heep influence to them a little bit. I mean, maybe I'm, you know, a little bit more biased or I'm going to pick out things that are related because I'm so focused on the music of Uriah Heep. But vocally too, and just this acoustic feel that we're getting, the gentle strumming, really kind of reminds me of something that they would have done. And I absolutely loved that album. If you're into that kind of music, I would say go check that album out. I mean, it's got some good rock stuff on it too, don't get me wrong, but there's some gentle passages in there that are really good. For those of you that aren't recalling why you might know the band Zebra, this song, Tell Me What You Want, is one of the ones that they did, and one of my all-time favorite songs, Who's Behind the Door. Now, I don't typically rank songs or anything, but when I say something's one of my favorites, that just means that it's basically a song that I go to. You know, when I want to hear music, it's one that I would often go, you know what, I want to hear Who's Behind the Door. That's a really good song. Just like with Uriah Heep, interestingly enough, it's My Joanna Needs Tuning. That's one of those songs that just pops into my head to this day. And as soon as I start hearing it, I'm like, I better just go listen to it, because this is going to be playing in my head over and over for a long time if I don't. Not that I don't enjoy that, but my head needs to do other things. You know, it needs to focus on a bunch of different things. So that's one of those songs that is so good. It's just a complete distraction for me. And I love it. So if you haven't listened to it yet, go back and listen to the episode, My Joanna Needs Tuning. It was a bonus track and a very good one at that. Now, back to question. It was kind of an abrupt ending. Didn't really take as long to do the fade out. I really got to quit playing in a Canadian band. Anyway, it just kind of cut off and went right back into the opening. So I actually had to really zoom in and find that cut point because it would have just started the song over on the podcast, and we didn't want that. Very interesting, a very tight cut, didn't do a full fade. So I wonder if this might blend into the next song that we're going to cover on Monday, which is Change, which, you know, storyline could work. You ask the question, then you decide what you need to change if you're off course. We'll see. We'll find out on Monday. But this is a really good song. I mean, this is a song, honestly, thinking back to my childhood, in Michigan, we had a lot of clouds in Michigan. We had a lot of times blue sky, but we had a lot of clouds. The sky was often interesting out there, not like here in the desert where it could just be solid blue sky for days without a single cloud. But I would go out into the front lawn and I would just lay down in the grass and stare up at the clouds and kind of daydream. And this would be the perfect song to accompany something like that, not just from a story standpoint, but from a musical standpoint as well. Something that's really simple but charming, has a warmth to it. You could just relax and enjoy it without having to focus on, hey, what was that just happened? You know, nothing comes in that kind of shocks you and takes you out of that moment. Everything is gentle. The vocals coming in and out, the string patch coming in and out. Everything is just nice and gentle and flowing. And I really love this song. And as someone who writes a lot of new age music, you know, this is more in my wheelhouse as a composer. I don't write, obviously, acoustic guitar music. You've heard about my Granby winning acoustic guitar skills that I don't have. But, something that just that gentleness point of view, that being able to relax, not having anything just come in and take you out of the moment. And it's a very beautiful song, very well written, beautifully performed, and another great one that I will listen to many, many times. So that being said, that will do it for this episode and this week. We are halfway through Sonic Origami now. We'll see you on Monday for Change. Have a great weekend, everybody. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show, and thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!